It is ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. We got my main man, Reggie Chatman, filling in for Tenitra today. We want to thank you guys for coming back with us because we have a lot of good stuff going on here at part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. We are now on Roku and Amazon Fire, man. Go check us out. If you're sitting at the house, you would download the app on your TV. You can just check us out there because one thing that I will always say, continue to say, I said it earlier, we don't hide greatness. So if you want to, share the love and show love, go ahead and download us wherever you download your podcast and give us a 5-star review. We really appreciate that from you in advance. Really thank you for that. But now, Reggie, the Falcons lose. Everybody know they lost, to the New Orleans Saints in the fourth quarter. They tried to attempt a 60-plus yard field goal with Younghoe Koo. Came up short, obviously. And I think that one of the things that I've always said about this game is that even though the end result wasn't what you wanted, if you're a Falcons fan, but I think that if you looked at the progress from in comparison to last year, I think that there is some definitely some positives. Now, what say you as far as how you felt about the game overall?
Well, look, I'll tell you this. So just as some background, for people that don't know, I used to cover the Saints back when I was in Baton Rouge before I got a job
Oh
out here in
no,
Atlanta.
man! I can't get away from y'all.
It's one of those situations where I've been watching the Saints for a really, really long time. So this game, based on the team that I used to cover and the team that I cover now, is kind of like my Super Bowl. My Twitter timeline is a mess. All the people that I know are from both sides and tweeting. So thankfully for me, I get to see kind of both aspects and both sides of the argument. When it comes to this Falcons team. So, and I think you're right. We'll start with the good. I think at the end of the day, this Falcons team looked a lot better than I ever anticipated they would against a Saints team that, from all of everything that I've seen, I thought would be, or at least would come out a lot better. I think some of the positives. Of course, you come out there and it looks like you really stop Jameis Winston, who I anticipated would have a really big year this year. Of course, in the fourth quarter, he looked like the Jameis Winston I thought he looked like. But the first 3.5 quarters, the defense looked stout. And then offensively, Arthur Smith in this offense that he's been trying to implement in this scheme and establishing the run and having some physicality. And man, you see Cordero Patterson come in there and have a 100-yard rushing game. The first time, I think, in 20 games that the Saints defense has lit up something like that. It was a career high in rushing yards for him.
Yep.
I think all of that is really, really positive for a team that really needed some positivity.
Right,
And
there you go.
It's unfortunate that coming into the season, there's always been the jokes. I mean, ever since 28-3, when they lost in that Super Bowl, there's always going to be the jokes of this team, this Falcons team, breaking down and losing games. But
always,
unfortunately, last year they gave Saints fans and fans around the country, and I can see the jokes constantly because I'm still part of Saints Twitter. So much ammo because of how many times the team seemed to break down in big game situations out a lot of last year. So you're thinking maybe this is the year they take the next step. Arthur Smith's system's in here again. Dean Pease is talking about how the defense is going to be a top 15 defense for the first time in I don't know how long, right? And
20 years. Yeah. How about that?
And unfortunately, you look at the roster and you got so many guys you've never seen before. So I never anticipated anything like that. I thought it was all going to be talk. They came out there and showed me the first 3.5 quarters that they are a team that has some potential to do some things right this year. But unfortunately, again, that doesn't matter because at the end of the day, they decided to blow what was a really, really bad lead in the fourth quarter. And it has to feel even worse that it's week one when you're trying to establish a culture and for the season and a benchmark, and it's also against the team that you hate the most out of everybody at home in a stadium that hasn't been that packed since I don't know when. So I think it's really tough that is what unfortunately is the biggest takeaway from the game, that once again they blew a lead, and this is something that they're going to have to figure out. And I think it's something that they will figure out, but I just think that you can't give up games like this when you play well in so many different aspects of the game. This should have been a win for the Falcons, and unfortunately, they weren't able to come away with it.
Yeah, it was definitely a dub situation when you actually, really kind of break that thing down because, Arthur Smith, from offensively, he did everything he wanted to do. He ran the football, he controlled the clock, control the time of possession. Those are some of the things that if you're able to do those two things, you keep your defense off the field. So that means they're fresh. They're not on the field all the time, which was a huge problem last year. And I think that, and you combine those couple of things and you say, all right, this is a formula for winning. And they did that up until probably about halfway through, probably about almost halfway through that fourth quarter. So those are some of the things that you have to kind of make sure that you try to continue to do. And, against the Los Angeles Rams. And we'll talk about Reggie going to give his person. I'm going to give my person as to who we think can be the difference maker against the Los Angeles Rams as the Falcons get ready to go out on the road. But before we do that, I got to tell you about Coffee AM. It is Coffee AM here. CoffeeAM.com/locked on is the website that you need to go to in order to get some of this goodness, because I don't hide greatness. I'm going to tell you about some good greatness that I have going on every morning when I get up. I start my morning early, Reggie, and I try to get my day started really early because I like to get to working out on every morning.
What time is that?
I get up at 4:00. 4:00 in the morning, man. I'm up.
In the morning?
Yeah, 4:00, man. I gotta do
incredible
it.
Because
yes, yes.
Early, man. You might have to ship me some of that, man.
Yeah, man. I got you, man. I got you, man. I got plenty of Coffee AM just for you, and you can go all over the country with it, right? So I got the Kenya. I started off with my Kenya K cups. I can go to Kenya, and they got a Kenya blend. It just smells absolutely amazing. The smell of it is gonna wake you up alone. So you got to make sure you do that, and like I said, make sure you holler at me. I got you on the coffee now. So for all those folks that are listening right now, I just told you why you need to go there, because it's absolutely amazing. It smells great. This is the best small batch coffee roaster in the entire country. Now I'm going to give you a little bit more incentive. If you want to go ahead and go to that website, coffeeam.com/locked on, just in case you forgot. Drop in the coupon code box locked on, and you're going to get 15% off your first order. That's on all gift sets, coffees, and teas. Yes, I said teas. If you don't mess with the coffee, go ahead and mess with the tea, because it is something that you would thoroughly enjoy, and I guarantee that bad boy. Go ahead and pull up on the best small batch coffee roaster in America. Now, Reggie, when you talk about the Falcons moving on, and trying to get flush this thing out of the system, the Rams are doing the same exact thing, because they literally got their behinds kicked for all 4 quarters. I don't think nobody would argue against that. Now, but I think there's going to be some players that need to step up in order for them to get a win, especially when you're talking about going out on the road and traveling cross country, like we talked about with the Braves. Who is the guy that you believe that will be able to do that in order for the Falcons to get a win?
Well, look, I think what's going to be really important is you're going up against a Rams team that, although they couldn't stop the Bills at all, because Josh Allen is an unbelievable player. He
Ridiculous.
Might be an alien for all I know.
Right.
I think for the Falcons, it's also going to be really important for their quarterback to play really well. I was really impressed with Marcus Mariota, man. I think like I said, through the first 3 quarters, he looked like he was moving the ball. Of course, you would like this team to be able to get into the end zone. Younghoe Koo ended up, of course, supplying 16 of the team's points just because he was hitting extra points and hitting all his field goals, which except for the last one, which he should have never had to kick. But I think at the end of the day, you need Marcus Mariota to play well, especially against a defensive line that has some studs on it. I mean, Aaron Donald might be the best NFL player I might have ever seen. That guy, I've never seen anything
ditto
that looks like that, runs like that.
That's ridiculous.
So automatically, he's a guy that's going to cause you problems in your offensive line that we are still pretty shaky on based on what they can actually do. So thankfully for that, you've got a guy with Marcus Mariota that can actually run the ball. He's got some movement, and I think that look, once again, you don't have the receivers like maybe the Bills had. You don't have a guy like Stephon Diggs who can beat a guy like Jalen Ramsey. But I think that you have to understand that you did see some chinks in their armor that you can kind of go after. Maybe Jalen Ramsey isn't up to it this year. Maybe you see what Drake London can do against it. Maybe you try to run the ball more with Marcus Mariota to open things up. And I think that that's going to all have to be really, really important. So my pick in this game, maybe Marcus Mariota. If the Falcons want any shot of trying to beat a team that, coming off a Super Bowl, got embarrassed last week in week 1 when they raised the banner in the first week of the NFL season on national TV in front of everybody, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder. They're going to try and embarrass the Falcons, and the Falcons need to recognize that they need to come out ready to rock from the jump, and they need to try to sustain it, unlike what they did this last weekend.
No doubt. And the thing about Marcus Mariota, which I think is a great point, right? Because I think he's going to be a factor in a lot of games this year because of, now we saw some improvement in the offensive line last week, but we still sometimes those guys are going to have their moments this year. And obviously with Aaron Donald, it's going to be that moment. I think that Aaron Donald's going to get some wins on Sunday, and I can't hide that fact, right? So
really good.
I think Marcus Mariota is definitely gonna have to be on his P's and Q's and be able to move the pocket and get out, escape the pocket, and find somebody downfield or take off running with that bad boy to save face. So I think that's an excellent pick. But I got one guy that can absolutely be a difference maker in this game, and that is Grady Jarrett.
Okay.
Not only because of the way that he played last week, Grady was playing absolutely out of sight, out of mind. Like, he exceeded his sack total from 2021 in the first half of this game, which was absolutely amazing. And I think he's kind of settling in what DNPs wants to ask him to do. And the reason why I think he's going to be X factor in this game is because when you look at the Rams offensive line, there are injuries all up and down that bad boy. Actually, 3 new starters on that offensive line. So I think that if Grady Jarrett can continue to play like he did last week, which I believe he can take advantage of some matchups that he's definitely going to run up against in that Rams offensive line, because they have a lot of new guys, and it's not guys that they came in and paid a lot of money in free agents. They are guys that are just, hey, this guy's hurt, so you come on and kind of help us out. Good luck. Yeah, go throw a jersey on and let's get it. You know what I mean? Like, he ain't off the street, but he's been sitting there back there waiting on his opportunity, and they're going to get their opportunity this week. And I think they're going to have an issue too. Not as much as Aaron Donald, but they're definitely going to have that issue as well.
It's interesting. I'm thinking about this defense as well. I think what the Falcons also need to do is figure out how to guard somebody in the pass game. Like I said, I don't know what they were doing for the first 3 quarters, but all of a sudden in the fourth quarter, when you knew Jameis Winston had to throw the football,
right,
they could not stop him.
Right.
At all. And I think that at the end of the day, you've got with Matthew Stafford, he's a guy that has some ups and downs. Will throw some interceptions.
He will.
You got to hope that A.J. Terrell is playing a little bit better than he did this last week. Michael Thomas hadn't played in 2 years, came out there and had 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, looked like the old Michael Thomas. You know what I mean? So I think the secondary has to play a little better. Like you said, if Grady Jarrett can get to the passer and make things a little bit more difficult on that Rams offensive line that, like you said, looks a little shaky this year, is trying to replace some guys, I think it'll maybe help out the secondary as well. And I think it'll be really important to do so if they want to try and beat this Rams team.
No doubt about it. It's going to be super duper important. And I think that, Grady is the guy to do it, right? They have somebody to try to take advantage of that. And that's one thing that, we can't really say that's been going down. And you got some other, and he has help as well. So, Arna Ebiketie, hey man, go ahead and continue to do what I like what I saw last week. Let's keep that bad boy rolling, no doubt about it. Now, another team in this city that's trying to get back rolling. The Hawks didn't show well in the playoffs, and when Miami Heat, quote unquote, exposed Trae Young for who he is and all that good stuff. So it seems that there's this list that came out. It's still a little list season, being dropped out there, and they slick just hating on Trae Young. We'll talk about all that next. This is ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and T with my main man Reggie filling in. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.